Jada is back at it here, you everyone. Another Game of Thrones characters ranked video. Since I just finished rewatching Game of Thrones, I figured it was time to update my top 20 favorite characters of all time, as this list has changed. Yet again, each time I watch Game of Thrones, I have a different opinion. So obviously, this will be my opinion. These are my favorite characters ranked, so you're probably going to disagree with me. Make sure that you leave your favorite characters of Game of Thrones in the comments section. You don't necessarily have to do a top 20 list, but if you want to do like a top 5 or top 10, just so I can kind of see where you're coming from. Again, we're going to disagree. Be nice. Let's have a debate of sorts. And in preparation for doing this video, I didn't watch any of my previously ranked characters videos. So what I'll do, in case you're interested, I'll leave that at the end of the video so you can click on some of those videos if you'd like, so you can watch those and see what my opinion was, or hear what my opinion was at that point in time. And of course, I shouldn't have to tell you this, but if for some reason you're not caught up in watching all of Game of Thrones, I highly suggest that you don't watch this video any further, because there's going to be spoilers. I'm going to talk about a lot of shit. So let's start with some people that I know for sure moved off the list. I used to have Syrio Forel, who was, of course, Arya's dance instructor in Season 1 of Game of Thrones. I had him in the top 10 before. I took him out of the top 20 simply because he doesn't have a long time on the show. And while his impact is important, I feel he's just not important enough to the overall story of Game of Thrones, so I did remove him off it. And then another character, I don't recall where they were specifically ranked. Might have been top 10, might have been top 20, but I have removed Daenerys Targaryen off my list. Upon this recent rewatch of Game of Thrones, her character just annoyed the shit out of me in most instances. Not all the time, but there were so many times where I just rolled my eyes about, pertaining to Daenerys. I know it's going to be the unpopular opinion, but it is what it is. What can I say? So let's start the list off again. Spoilers ahead. Number 20, this character dropped. I know that. Ned Stark. Wasn't on the show very long, but his impact on the show was very important. And me watching Game of Thrones, the death of Ned Stark was very important. Like, what the fuck? They just kill off the main character in the 9th episode of the series. So I had to leave Ned Stark on the list, but he only comes in 20th place. Number 19, a new character on the top 20 list. I just felt watching the show again that this character kind of got the shaft. And I liked both people that played this person, although I like the first person better. But that actor had to do something else or had another project, so they casted somebody else. I'm talking about Daario Naharis. I feel he got the shaft by Daenerys. He could have easily ended up with Daenerys. I understand the point of not ending up with her and letting him stay behind, but I'm really upset that he didn't come back, even for a scene or something. Just, I don't know. It just made me mad, but I really liked his character upon my recent rewatch, and that's why I chose to put Daario Naharis at number 19. Number 18, one of the best villains of all time in any TV series. This villain was not only sadistic, but he also could fight too, unlike Joffrey. Ramsey Bolton. Ramsey was fucking awesome. You're not supposed to like him, but in a devious way, I kind of did at some points during the series. With the torturing of Theon, who, well, isn't my most favorite character. More on that later. I enjoy Ramsey, and the fact that he could actually fight, too. He wasn't afraid to duke it out. More with weapons, though, but still, he had a very strong impact on Game of Thrones, and also made Sansa a stronger character indeed. So that's why I chose to put Ramsey Bolton at number 18. So I just talked about it. My 17th favorite character on Game of Thrones is now Theon Greyjoy. Some of you may be surprised by this. If you didn't know, Theon Greyjoy used to be if not, well, one of my least favorite characters. Like, I despised Theon's character. It all stems from season 2 when he beheaded Sir Roderick. My opinion on Theon is actually changed. I feel that he did enough to redeem himself, and I actually enjoyed Theon's character. I know, I can't believe it either. Upon this recent rewatch of Game of Thrones, there were a lot of characters that the pendulum in my head swung a different direction, and Theon is definitely one of those characters. I thought he was awesome. I thought, other than beheading Sir Roderick, he did a lot of things. You know, being tortured by Ramsey, dealing with the whole Reek stuff, and him saving Sansa and getting her out of Winterfell at the time. It just, moment after moment, Theon redeems himself. Although jumping off the ship and abandoning Yara, but then coming back, still great. And, you know, him standing next to Bran and fighting all the whites. And, well, he didn't really fight any White Walkers, but the whites, until the last man standing. And then he finally, you know, Bran, Theon, you're a good man. So that was pretty awesome. It's unfortunate that he was killed off, and I must admit, my latest rewatch of Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night, I kind of whimpered a little bit when Theon got killed. I don't know why. My opinion changed on Theon. What can I say? So Theon Greyjoy, number 17. Number 16, I think this character is also new to my top 20 list. I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to go with Tormund Giantsbane. Tormund was hilarious. He was a brutal force, but he also had some great comic relief. Not that we need comic relief in Game of Thrones, but since there's so many serious parts, we need some funny parts. And anything with him talking about the big one made me laugh my ass off upon this latest rewatch. I know it did before, but to a stronger degree it did this time, and I really enjoyed the stuff with Tormund. I really like his relationship with Jon Snow. I think they're a great dynamic duo, and Tormund is just, you gotta like Tormund, and now I do too, so he's my number 16. Number 15, another new addition to my top 20 list, I think, and that would be Melisandre, the Red Woman. So, I used to hate Melisandre, but upon this latest rewatch, there's a lot of things that she did, or notions that she set, that made things happen for our favorite characters, that made them win in the long run. And she knew that Arya Stark would close many eyes. Brown eyes, green eyes, and blue eyes. And it sucked that she burned, or gave the idea to Stannis Baratheon to burn Shireen. That sucked. But there's just so many things. And then her coming back for the Long Night, lighting all the Dothraki weapons up. You know, that the trench, making that fire start on there. I liked Melisandre. I can't help it now. She's my 15th favorite character on Game of Thrones. Number 14. I believe this character dropped a few places. I think, not 100% sure, I believe he was in the top 10. And that would be Samwell Tarly. There's nothing that Samwell did in the most recent rewatch to make me lower him on the list. Just other characters that I didn't like as much before kind of just shot up. And that's honestly what happened with Sam. Sam's a great character, a great friend and ally to Jon Snow. His relationship with Gilly does annoy me because Gilly ultimately does get on my nerves sometimes. But Sam is so good and so just likable as a character. And, you know, reading all this stuff and fixing Jorah at the Citadel, and, you know, transcribing the High Septon's diary about, you know, Lyanna and Rhaegar's marriage. I like Samwell Tarly. That's why he's now at number 14. Number 13. I'm not sure if this character moved down the list or not. I love this character. A very important character on the Game of Thrones. And that would be Ygritte. Jon Snow's first love and his best love on Game of Thrones. I really liked Ygritte as a character on Game of Thrones. I think she did a lot in developing Jon Snow, and she was a badass that could fight as well, and I just really enjoyed her character. It's sad that they killed her off, but she still was memorable as a character on Game of Thrones, and they obviously had good chemistry because Kit Harington and Rose Leslie did indeed get married in real life. So Ygritte, she's my number 13. My number 12, another character that has moved down on the list, and this character I do believe was in the top 5. Nothing necessarily that this character did. I just decided that I liked more other characters. And this character I don't think was as important to a degree as other characters were. And I'm talking about Bronn. So he ended up being Master of Coin. He ruled Highgarden. He was a great character. He helped Jaime a lot. He helps Tyrion a lot. I was going to say that he helped Cersei a lot, but that's obviously not the case. In fact, it was in their contracts that him and Lyanna Headley had to stay away from each other because they're apparently a past relationship. But Bronn was awesome. I just think his impact on the show, his Season 8 impact wasn't that important. If he would have had a bigger role in Season 8, he probably would still be in the top 5, top 10. But as it stands, Bronn is now number 12. It's okay. Some people are just better, and that's my thoughts on that. Number 11. Another character that has been added to the top 20, I do believe. Unless for some reason I had this character in the top 20 before, but I don't think so. Another character that I didn't hate, but I didn't like either. And now I'm talking about Brienne of Tarth. Her whole character arc is one of the most entertaining character arcs on Game of Thrones, and I never realized it. Her oath to Catelyn Stark about, protecting her daughters. I mean, she really went with that. She protected Arya and Sansa. Didn't really need to protect Arya because Arya could handle herself, but she still was there if she needed. And she was a loyal person. And then in the end, she gets with Jaime. I think maybe Jaime got with her. They get it on. She loses her virginity. Jaime decides that he doesn't want to be with her anymore. He wants to go back to Cersei. Fine. But in the Book of the Kingsguard, she still writes a very touching story or all Jaime Lannister's accomplishments. And I love Brienne. She's awesome. So I had to put her at number 11. Now we've reached my top 10. And coming in at number 10, originally my favorite character on Game of Thrones upon my first watching of it, which that was the first season and 4 episodes, and then I took a year off. And then I restarted. But Jorah Mormont. It's unfortunate that he didn't get anywhere with Daenerys, but he was just a great character. He was loyal, and the end of Jorah was one of the greatest endings of a character. Him fighting to the end for Daenerys. He's getting stabbed and sliced, but he keeps standing back up and defending Daenerys. And there's a point where Daenerys like touches his arm, like, "Are you okay?" And he just keeps fighting off whites. And finally, when the threat is over with, then Jorah falls over, and he does die. But man, Jorah was a great character. I really liked Jorah. I'm glad that he didn't die a grayscale or turn into something else because of the grayscale stuff. So thanks to Samwell Tarly. But I do enjoy Jorah quite a bit on Game of Thrones. Number 9 is a character that kind of fell off a little bit. I still like this character quite a bit. A lot of people don't talk about this character, but for some reason, I enjoy this character a lot. And I'm talking about Osha. She was the wildling that Theon and Robb Stark got. Was it the first season or second season? Now it's all a blur to me, but she was just awesome, and she was a badass. Like, you didn't want to fuck with Osha. She protected Bran, which is great. She protected him until he didn't essentially need her anymore when he had Hodor, Mira, and Jojen to look after him at the time. But Osha was awesome. Her getting in bed with Theon and like fooling him was just great. But then, unfortunately, she ran into the devil that's known as Ramsey, and he didn't fall for her tricks. So Osha, my number 9. Truthfully, I would be quite surprised if anybody else has Osha in their top 10. Maybe their top 20, but it's not a common character that I know of that people put in their top favorite characters on Game of Thrones. But hey, I do. My opinion. Moving along here, my 8th favorite character on Game of Thrones. And this is another character that was nowhere near my top 20. I actually almost hated this character. Not quite as much as Theon Greyjoy, but almost to that degree. I don't know why. I don't really have any information to back that claim up. I just didn't enjoy this character before, but now all of a sudden this character has done a complete 180, and I'm talking about Sansa Stark. I think Sansa's growth from being obsessed and wanting to marry Joffrey and having these experiences with life of getting, forced by Ramsey, having all these things happen to her with Cersei, Joffrey, the Mountain, I guess, to a certain degree. Just, she had a great character arc. Learning a lot from Cersei, actually. And then, when it was all said and done, Sansa was Queen in the North, which was a fitting title for her, or Lady Sansa, Queen of the North. And I liked it. And then the stuff with Littlefinger was just great, how she fooled the guy that fools everybody. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. So, Lady Sansa, number 8. Number 7, I think this character was about this place before. Maybe a spot lower or a spot higher. But I've always been a fan of this character because, well, this character did such a good job at making people hate them. And I'm talking about Cersei Lannister. Yes, Cersei is my number 7. I am a big fan of the Lannisters, Jaime, Tyrion, and Cersei. And while there are moments where I hate Cersei, there's also moments where I gotta give her props because she makes shit happen. I mean, she takes the Walk of Fame or the Walk of Shame in season 5, and at the end of season 6, she's in charge of everything. She blows up the House of Baelor or something like that, where all the High Sparrow, Lady Margaery, Mace Tyrell, Kevin Lannister, all those people are at that have like influence in King's Landing. She blows that up. She also kills Pycelle, and I don't know if she knew that Tommen was going to commit suicide or not, but I feel like she's somewhat responsible for that too, because she didn't really seem to care when it happened. Like, whatever, now I'm in charge. But, I mean, you got to hand it to her. Granted, she's despicable for some of those acts, but she's also pretty badass when you think about it. Now, obviously, towards the end, I was very upset in season 8, episode 4, when she gave the order to the Mountain to chomp Melisandre's head off. That sucked. But already in the next episode, Daenerys is going crazy, being the Mad Queen, lighting everything on fire. Then Cersei says she doesn't want to die. And then all of a sudden, I'm like rooting for Cersei to live because she's with Jaime, and I love Jaime and Cersei, even though they're relatives, they still are awesome. And I was rooting for them to escape and live happily ever after because Cersei is such a good character that one moment can turn where, like, Daenerys is being pretty brutal right now. Let's let Cersei live. Of course, that didn't happen, although Jaime and Cersei dying with a pile of rubble falling on top of them. Really? That's one of my complaints. I don't have as many complaints with the final season of Game of Thrones as most people do, but that is one of my complaints that I have. So Cersei is number 7, and number 6, a lot of people, if you ask them who their favorite character on Game of Thrones is, I would say probably 30 to 35% of them will say this character, and I'm talking about Tyrion Lannister. Now, admittedly, when he gets with Daenerys, he gets a little annoying at times, because I just get annoyed with Daenerys in general now, which I never used to get as annoyed, but each time I watch it, more and more I get frustrated with some of the things and decisions that she makes. And Tyrion, him going with her after season 4 was part of that. But I still like Tyrion as a character, and him in the season 8 episode, the final episode of Game of Thrones, the Iron Thrones 806, when he throws the Hand of the King thing. Like, I don't want it anymore. That was a good moment from Tyrion. I'm glad that Tyrion ended up living, and he's like the Lord Tyrion of King's Landing now, because there's no other Lannisters left. But he was definitely a good character. He had good moments, good speeches. I did not kill Joffrey, but I wish I did. You gotta love Tyrion. So that's why he's my number 6. He might have went down a spot. I can't remember. Now we've reached my top 5. Number 5 is a character that I'm not really sure why I like as much as I do like. Maybe it's because she's really hot. That might have something to do with it. But I just enjoyed what her character stood for on Game of Thrones. And like how she still wanted to get to the top. Even if it, certain people she had to be with. I'm talking about Lady Margaery Tyrell. She obviously was arranged to be married to Joffrey. That didn't work so well. I'm sure she's happy about that. And then she gets with Tommen, but she's a good person to the people, and I just enjoyed that. I hate the ending of her on the show. I feel it's ridiculous to kill her in that explosion when she knew, like, Cersei knows she has to be here. She knows the repercussions of her not being here. She's not here. There's a reason why. We need to get out of here. She figured it out, but they wouldn't let her out. But I just really enjoy Margaery. I can't really, she hasn't done that much that's good, but for some reason, I just really like Margaery Tyrell, and that's why I'm putting her in my top 5. So she's my number 5. Number 4, from beginning to end, this character had one of the best character arcs on Game of Thrones, arguably. And I'm talking about the Hound, Sandor Clegane. The Hound was such a good character. You started off, he was Joffrey's Kingsguard, and he was kind of mean, and he killed the butcher's boy, I think it was, and Arya, of course, added him to the list. But then in season 2, during the battle at Blackwater, the Hound says, I've had enough of this. There's too much fire around here. I'm going to get the hell out of here. Fuck the king. And then asks if Sansa wants to go with him. And then that was great. Then he meets up with Arya. Sansa declines. He meets up with Arya. They have a interesting bond where Arya's like, I don't want to kill you. You're actually pretty good and you're actually decent. He saves her. She was going to go and try to save the day at the Reigns of Castamere episode. She would have probably got slaughtered. He was such a great character. And then this, still had some moments with Arya back and forth where they didn't quite agree with each other. And then you had the fight with Brienne where he was left for dead. Arya robs him, but that doesn't kill him. Then he disappears for season 5. But lo and behold, he's back in season 6 of Game of Thrones. One of my favorite moments when the Hound shows back up. And then, of course, the ending of the Hound, if I'm jumping a few seasons. Season 8, episode 5, The Bells. Clegane Bull, awesome, brutal. The Hound is awesome, and he's definitely one of the best characters from beginning to end. Sandor Clegane, number 4. Number 3, this character has actually went down a spot, surprisingly enough. And I'm talking about Jaime Lannister. You hate Jaime Lannister at first. He pushes an innocent kid off a ledge. Could have died. He's paralyzed, but that sets everything in place for what happens later on Game of Thrones. And then he gets captured by Robb Stark. He gets released by Catelyn Stark. All of a sudden he is with Brienne of Tarth. He saves Brienne of Tarth, loses a hand because of it. And just things that Jaime did, maybe not at first, but he just kept getting better and better and better. And then in the end, he was loyal to his queen, Cersei Lannister. I'll tell you one thing, though. That part in Season 6, Episode 10, where he's like, Cersei's like, no one walks away from me. And then he's like, what, you going to have him kill me, the mountain? And then she kind of nods and the mountain pulls his sword like, whoo! Was not looking forward to that moment, but it didn't happen. But unfortunately, Jaime did meet his demise with all the rubble falling on top of him. Stupid way to kill characters off like that, but it is what it is. Jaime is an awesome character, and that's why he's my number 3. My number 2 keeps moving up and up and up the list of Game of Thrones. This character is a lot of people's favorite character. If you don't say Tyrion, you probably say this character or somebody else, and I'll get to that character in a second. But I'm talking about Jon Snow. Jon is awesome. He was very awesome. Upon this latest rewatch, I really enjoyed Jon Snow. I'm not upset that he didn't kill the Night King. I think that was too predictable. He did just enough. He killed the biggest villain on Game of Thrones. Even though they were only a villain for a couple episodes, Daenerys Targaryen, he killed Daenerys, and that was very important. Drogon would have killed anybody else if Drogon had found out that they killed Daenerys, except for Jon Snow. And Jon was great. I would have preferred Jon to be king when it was all said and done, and not his weirdo brother, Bran. Still a little annoyed about that, but it makes sense. But Jon was just great. His relationship with Ygritte, which was one of the best things that Jon Snow did, and the emotion that you got in the Watchers on the Wall, the season 4, episode 9, when Ollie shoots Ygritte and she dies in Jon Snow's arms. Such a sad moment, but great stuff from Jon and Ygritte, and then of course Jon and Tormund. And then you got Jon Snow on steroids for Season 6, Episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. Jon Snow took it to Ramsey and all the people with Ramsey, and it was such an epic episode. And Jon Snow is right at the front of that. So Jon Snow is now my number 2 favorite character. But my number 1 favorite character, which hasn't changed, at least that I know of, maybe it was somebody different, a couple characters ranked videos, but Arya Stark. My number 1 favorite character. I just enjoyed a lot of moments that Arya had on Game of Thrones. Her seeing her father being executed, her being at King's Landing, her being, a Jaqen Nagar, asking for the 3 people killed, the stuff with the Hound, her going to, be the training with a faceless man, and then of course her big 3 kills on Game of Thrones when she kills Walder Frey, which was a fucking awesome moment, by the way. Then at the end of season 7, and this was a kind of a combined kill by the Starks in general, but when she kills Littlefinger, and then of course season 8, episode 3, The Long Night, Arya Stark. Wow. If you want to see a great reaction to that, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, I like watching Game of Thrones reactions specifically. Type Burlington Bar GOT The Drop. It'll be just kind of like a 5-minute scene right before Arya kills the Night King, obviously showing that. The bar goes crazy because he catches her. You're like, oh shit, he's going to kill her. And then she drops the knife, catches in the other hand, stabs him. And the fucking bar just goes nuts. So Arya Stark, my number 1. So, I've done another rewatch of Game of Thrones, and I've ranked my characters yet again. Now, will I change my mind again? Who knows? But I want to hear what your opinions are on this. Please leave me your list. Smash the like button, especially if you're a fan of this. If you liked this video so much that you would be willing to share this across all your social media platforms, that would be great, and I would appreciate that. And of course, last but certainly not least, and again, don't forget to leave me your list in the comment section. I want to grow the channel. Obviously, I've talked about a lot of Game of Thrones stuff lately, but I'm always willing to do more Game of Thrones stuff. So if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.